the energy plants fed by biomass, different energy plants who are carried out by Biomass Research Center in the last 15 years. The first slide you can see I want to share with you is showing the objective, the goals from the European Commission to be reached until 2030. The RED 2 recast to 2030 is the European Directive number 2001 approved on 2018, in which the European Community organized 3 new goals: renewable energy share, energy efficiency in terms of reduction of energy consumption, and greenhouse emissions reduction, recalculated to 2030. If you make a comparison between the 2 columns, you can see that the goals for renewable energy source share passes from 20% to 32%, the energy efficiency from 20% to 32.5%, and the greenhouse emissions doubled from 20% to 30% until 2030. What are the tools, the instrument for each country of the European Union? This is the average in the European Community. Each country can apply some regulation, some directive, in order to reach the proposed goal. For example, for Italy, we have the FAIR 1 for Tecnologie Mature, and it is the decree number of 4th July 2019, and the Tecnologie Innovative. Tecnologie Mature means all the technologies such as the wind onshore, the wind energy plants in the ground. For example, PV plants. I want to remember that in the last lesson we talked about the regulation that avoid the PV plants again, because after the spread of PV plants in 2012, the Italian regulation imposed a stop for the PV plants. It's possible again now, according to the directive of 2019, to install new PV plants, but the condition is that the PV plants are on the roofing areas, not in the ground, on the roofing, and with intervention for the replacement of asbestos. Asbestos is amianto. If you have to replace your covers, your roofing, because there is asbestos, it's possible to install a new PV plant and gain the relative incentive for the electricity power produced by the energy plants. So, wind energy on ground, PV plants, is possible the hydropower and the gas from depuration, from treatment, for example, of wastewater or other depuration systems. In Tecnologie Innovative is another regulation. We are waiting for this regulation that is not yet approved. On February 2020, we have seen a first draft of the incentive for bioenergy, for geothermal, and for concentrated solar plants, thermodynamic solar plant. But now, at the moment, because of Corona lockdown, the regulation is stopped to the Parliament. It's not possible to go on to know how is going the draft. We have seen the first draft for bioenergy. There is a lot of money for financing the bioenergy plants. At the moment, there is no regulation for the incentivation of bioenergy plants. The first Decreto Clini, the first regulation about renewable energy source was approved on 2012. Decreto Clini is one of the most important regulation for renewable energy source incentive, because it is very innovative in the frame, and in the regulation after the gradual cleaning, the frame is the same. It means that it was a good regulation that is analyzing all the problems. If you see the attach of the regulation, attach number 1, you can see the different renewable sources: wind, hydropower, ocean, geothermal, landfill gas, depurator gas, and biomass. Biomass is divided into biogas, this gaseous biomass. Biomass, it means the solid biomass, and bioliquids, the liquid. The last 3 lines are the biomass renewable source. As I said in the previous slide, there is no PV incentivation. It is the first renewable decree after the Conto Energia. Conto Energia was the regulation who make the incentive to the solar plants. All the sources in the list are for electric power. When we say power, we say it means the electricity production and the possibility to give the energy, the produced energy to the net, to the grid. So there is a lot of renewable energy sources divided each for the source. For example, if we look at wind energy, it is divided into 2 lines: onshore on the ground, offshore on the for example on the sea. Hydropower, for example, on the river and on the lake. And if you look at the duration, vita utile degli impianti, I mean it's not the impianti, it means not the duration of the technology, because we can use different technology for wind energy. For example, it's possible for some technology to have a duration of 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years. It depends on the technology. It depends on the site where the technology is applied. The regulation means in this column, vita utile degli impianti, the duration of the incentive. It is average 20 years, but for example, offshore wind plants, it is 25. A bigger duration of the incentive time. For example, also hydropowers 20, and with high power of the plants is 25, 30 years. Or for the lake hydropower is 25, 30 years. If we make a comparison, we have for wind plants on the ground, 20 years, the duration of the incentive. For the offshore plants in the sea, the incentive is more with a long time, 25 years. Why? Because the plants in offshore, like the wind plants, wind turbine in the open sea, require more capex and more opex. Capex, it means capital expenditures. It is the cost for the investment, the cost to buy and install the technology. Capital expenditure. Opex means operating expenditure, the cost for the working, for the running of the plant. The first parameter, the capex. Capex means, for example, also financing by the bank. I have again financing for the building of the plant and all the operation for the install of the plant. The second part, OPEX, means the, for example, the maintenance of the plant. The maintenance of the plant, you know, is more difficult to make the maintenance of a turbine in open sea if compared with a turbine on the ground. You have to rent a boat, for example. You have to take some measure of safety that you don't take in a ground plant. So it's more difficult, the costs are more, there is more cost for insurance, for example, for administrative costs, for man worker. The maintenance is made by man worker for the management of the plant in such condition are more expensive if compared with other technology. So this is the first innovative aspect of the decreto cleaning, the possibility to have different duration of the incentive depending on the complexity, depending on the difficulty of the technology. The second aspect, if we want to focus on the biomass, I just said biomass is divided into solid, gaseous, and liquid. And there is another difference. Here it is gaseous, this is solid and liquid. Bioliquid sustainability. In bioliquid, you cannot find the three different type of biomass. Last lesson we talk about product, byproduct, and waste. Biogas is divided into the three characteristics. The same for solid biomass. It's not possible for bioliquid because in bioliquid you find the word sustainable bioliquids. It means that all the chain for the bioliquid production is based on byproduct. I say last time that we use some level of 0.05% of the agricultural crops to make bioplastic. It's not possible to have more surface, to have more agricultural surface because it is against the food production. If we have more surfaces for the agriculture, we have to make a reduction of the surfaces for the food production. So sustainable means that the bioliquids produced by biomass are from byproducts. For example, residuals of potatoes, of corn, of the starch of corn, of rice, for example. In the other column, you can find a range of power. The electric power is divided into different range. For example, the first line, the power is between 1 kilowatt and 300 kilowatt. In the second line, the power is between 300 kilowatts and 600 kilowatt. And so we go on. So it is very clear where you are with your power, and the incentive is strictly depending on the power of the plant. If you look at the euro 4 megawatt hour of the incentive is in reduction as the power is in increasing. The greater the power, the lower the incentive. Why the Decreto Clean made this very strictly dependence between the incentive that the state gives to the producer, to the owner of the plant, and the size of the plant? Because small plants must be promoted, must be helped more than greater plants. This is the first reason. Smaller plant has smaller impacts. Smaller plants are better than bigger plants. So, if we want to reach the goals of the European community, but we have to preserve the environment quality of our matrices, soil, water, and air, we can help the energy plants, but the same power can be reached with a lot of little energy plants. It's not only a sustainable approach, it's also an approach, economical approach, because we are in 2012, we are after the big crisis, economical crisis of 2008. It is difficult for people to have money to buy, to build new plants. Europe asks us to reach some goals. Italian people doesn't have money to buy the plants. They have to ask financial to the bank. So liquid plants is possible because it's more easy for the bank to give you a little money if compared with the high costs of big plants. It's more easy to have the access al credito, to have the financing by the banks, it's more easy also to manage the plant with low cost if compared with bigger plants. So the Decreto Clini make a innovative approach to divide each plant in power and give more money to smallest plant. It is the most important, it is the soul, it is the meaning, the real meaning of this important directive, who was taken as example in the European Union for the other country regulations. I want to give you an example. Now we make a comparison of the same biomass, for example, biogas, the gaseous biomass, and you can see here a plant, a biogas plant. It's possible to feed the biogas plant by product, by waste, and by biological product. The regulation, it is another important innovation of this regulation. The regulation make a control, make a pilot of the market, because it gives the higher incentive to the byproduct. The second is the waste, and the third is the product. With the same size of the plant, for example, under 300 kilowatt power, if you feed your plant with byproduct, so product taken by, for example, animal waste, animal manure, slurry from the animals, or the leaves and the trunk from the corn plant. After the separation of the corn, what can we do with the leaves of the plant? What can we do with the residual biomass from agriculture? How can we use the biomass from agro-industrial activities? So if you use byproduct, you have more incentivation. I want to remember that one of the definition of byproduct is to have a certain final destination. Must be clear what is the final destination of the matter, of the biomass we are harvested in our activity. If it is clear it is for energy, you have more incentivation. The second is waste. Why the organic fraction of municipal solid waste, umido in Italian language, is incentivate so high after byproduct if compared with product? Because waste has not a final destination. When we make the separate harvesting of the waste of the umido, the final destination is mainly to make compost, but actually, due to the high quality of the separation of waste, due to the high responsibility of citizenship that today everybody makes the separation of the waste from the other waste, organic waste, we have a lot of waste, organic fraction of municipal solid waste, and the market of composting is not so consolidated, it's not so profitability characteristic to make a lot of compost. Therefore, we have to find another solution. We have to find another destination to the waste, to the organic waste, different if compared with the landfill. The last solution, I want to remember the pyramid of waste produced by the Decreto Ronchi. The last option must be the landfill. Have a landfill filled with organic waste is very problematic because organic waste produce liquids. Liquids can be infected with heavy metals, and we have to make the treatment of a very dangerous waste, that is the water from the landfill. We have to find another destination, final destination to the organic fraction of municipal solid waste. Therefore, umido is more incentivized if compared with product. The less chance is product. Sorghum field, so field that I don't use for food. I say there is ethical issues about it. We don't use the land to make food. We use the land to make energy, to make biomass. This biomass is converted into biogas to make energy. It must be the last option because we have the sorghum. I have a lot of consumption of water for irrigation. I have a lot of consumption of fertilizer, and we know that fertilizer chain is characterized by a lot of chemical fertilizer who can make pollution to the soil and to the water under the soil. Another example is for biomass. Biomass is the solid biomass. So the biomass, the first one is the biological biomass because the short rotation forest technology means the intensive cultivar of trees, for example poplar is pioppo, who are cultivated in the fields, and the fields after 2-3 years, the trees are harvested, are chipped to make wood chip. You can see here wood chip to feed the biomass boiler in order to produce thermal energy, or in the advanced technology with ORC turbine produce electricity power. It is better because the regulation wants that we use the abandoned land to make a cultivar of trees. Have a tree help for the landscape, helps for the quality of the air, helps for the use of the landscape, for the use of the ground against the erosion, against the water erosion of the land. Have tree. Also, if I cut every 3 years, it is very deeply very quickly growing plants. The second option is byproduct. Byproduct, for example, pruning from the maintenance of the green areas, public and private green areas. The last option is waste. Waste is very little financed. Why the incentive of waste from solid biomass is so short? We have, for example, some pallets. It's very short because the organic biomass solid, rifiuti legnosi in Italian language, the wooden biomass waste are rich in glue, rich in colors, rich in plastic content, rich in metal content, for example, nails or other metals. The wooden waste, for its technology characteristics, is full of glue. For example, we made a study for the parquet residues. We have found that it's not possible to take the residues from the industry of parquet or, for example, other things made in wood, because the color of the wood or the glue, the content or the content of glue is so high. When we burn the wood full of glue, it's very toxic. There are very toxic gases, very toxic effluent. For example, dioxin. Dioxin is very dangerous for the health of people and for the environment. Here you can find some picture of the short rotation forest, the intensive cultivation of trees, the sorghum. It is another dedicated crops, energy crops. Or there is also some spontaneous crops, such as the cardun. Next lesson we talk about cardun, Arundodonax, canna palustre, miscanthus, and topinambur. Topinambur is similar to the potato, but has a lot of biomass, fresh biomass, rich on water. Here you can find some examples of byproducts matter, solids and liquids byproducts with low humidity content, for example pruning and brushwood, high humidity content, for example mowings, and organic fraction of municipal solid waste. It is the organico in Italian language, organic fraction of municipal solid waste, agro-industrial residues, pomace, sansa, vineyard in Aceh, and other matter. For liquid bioproducts, we have wastewater from depuration plants, milk serum, and animal residues such as manure, the solid part, or slurry, the liquid content. Definition of biomass. Last lesson we have seen the former definition and the latter one. We make a comparison. We say that the definition was made better if compared with the previous definition. There is very clear the origine biologica, the source of the biomass. It is a fraction. This is mathematically defined. And there is a lot of elements who are enriching the definition. But we have to make an analysis about the local definition. Even during this coronavirus lockdown, we have seen there is sometimes conflict between the state and the local authorities. Regioni, comuni, province, also if province are not working yet. The conflict between the state and the local authority is very important, but it starts from the riforma del titolo quinto. The reform of the part 5 of the Italian Constitution was made since 1997 from Legge Bassanini. The Legge Bassanini regulation in number 59 of 1997 is the first devolution approach to make a reform of the stattal and local authority relationship. Devolution is very important for a country, very difficult country as Italy, with different local area, with different problems. For example, a law about environment, about landscape value. It's not possible to have a national law because the problems of Umbria are different if compared with the problems of Veneto region. Veneto has sea, hills, and mountains. Umbria, we don't have the sea. We don't have the same problems of Veneto. Therefore, the devolution, it was just a simple example. Devolution is to give more power to the local authorities. It starts since 1997 and it was definitively approved on 2001 with the Legge Costituzionale number 3. The Legge Costituzionale number 3 of 2001 after the referendum, because when we change the constitution law, we have to ask citizenship to confirm the decision taken by the parliament. The Legge Costituzionale number 3 defining the current situation of some subjects who are shared between state and regions. For example, health, for example, school, landscape, for example, energy. These subjects are shared between state and regions. Some subjects are exclusively from the state, for example, soldiers, etc. In this situation, it's possible for each region to make a specific law, specific regulation according to the situation of the local area. Here you can see what is happening now with the lockdown, where every region can make decision within the frame of the state. It's possible to work inside the frame of the state, but not out of the frame of the state. If you want to make a comparison with, for example, with the insiemistica, the set theory, if we have the set theory, the state is the main set. Inside the main set, there are the subset, the sottoinsieme subset of the regulation. The Regolamento Regione Umbria number 4 of 2011, I want to show that it was made in May 2011 and the national was on March 2011. So after the state regulation, each region, according to its own characteristic, to its problematic, to its necessity, to its needs, to its problem, make a definition of biomass within the frame of the national law. The first article it means about management of anaerobic company and intercompany digestion plant, biogas plants, that treat breeding effluents mixed with biomass. In the first, about the goals of the Regolamento numero 4, the regulation number 4 of the region Umbria, one of the goals is to define how the management of biogas plant must be carried out. Article 4, effluenti di allevamento, breeding effluents. It is an article, the number 4, where there is a list of the effluenti di allevamento. Breeding effluents, and there is a list of each element that is possible to put inside this set. If we make a comparison between the Article 5, providing the definition of biomass, and the national regulation number 28 that gives the definition of biomass, we can find the same words, the same concept. For example, in red, I have underlined wood biomass. Selvicoltura is the maintenance of the wood. Potatura, pruning, sfalci, brushwood, etc. We can find the same regulation. In violet, you can find agricultural residues, vegetable residues, vegetable substance. In blue, you can find agro-industries production, wastewater, the products of, for example, from the specific activities, vineyard, for example, etc. Industrie connesse in the national regulation. But in the regulation region Umbria, you cannot find animals and organic fraction of municipal solid waste. For the region Umbria, animal products such as manure, slurry, and the organic fraction of municipal solid waste are not biomass. Again, a comparison of the set theory in semistica, the definition of biomass by the national regulation includes 5 families, but the regional regulation includes just 3 parts of biomass: animal residues and organic fraction of municipal solid waste umido are out of biomass for the region Umbria. It is correct because it is inside the frame defined by the state. And it is clear because we have also seen the Article 4 where they speak about effluenti di allevamento, breeding effluents, who are separate by the Article 5 biomass. The question is why region Umbria decides to don't include organic fraction of municipal solid waste and animal residues inside the box of biomass. And now I want to show you some new paper, very popular new paper from the web. In 2009, something terrible happened in Bettona, scandal in Bettona. NOE, Carabinieri NOE, Nucleo Operativo Ecologico, arrests pig farmers who threw sewage on the land. There was operation of Carabinieri. Laguna de Cerdos is the name of the operation that in Spain means laguna, lake, water of pigs, where it means what is happening, where the Carabinieri found that in the biogas plant of Bettona, 5 megawatt of plant, a very big plant, where there was the collection inside the biogas plant of manure, slurry from pigs, from a lot of companies all around Bettona. Inside the digester, something was not running good. If we look at another paper, under investigation, the 4 managers of the biogas plant, CODEP, 5 megawatt in power, 3 from the ARPA authority, who had to make control were with the criminals. 3 pig breeders. The crimes are criminal association aimed at illicit traffic of waste, environmental disaster, and water poisoning. It is the more heavy crime with the imprisonment not less than 15 years. Operation Laguna de Cerros. 2009, and the regulation is 2011, 2 years ago. The scandal of Region Umbria of the use of manure from animals inside the biogas plant and did not correct dispose of the digestate from the biogas plant was put in the river, in the local river, and in the ground without control, was very, very important, was a very deep problem, a very deep scandal, who influenced the Umbria regulation. So I want to explain the scheme of the biogas plant. The biogas plant is composed by a lot of parts. The first section is for vegetable materials and manure. It's possible, for example, you can see here a truck with the slurry from animals. The slurry is pumped and mixed, for example, with the waste, organic fraction from municipal solid waste, or, for example, residuals from agriculture. And the solid part, together with the liquid slurry, are digested inside the digester number 1. Plant is composed by the first digester part, where bacteria, methanogen bacteria, are growing to transform the biomass into biogas. Biogas in the second digester is stored inside the roofing, the elastic roofing, and the biogas is composed mainly by methane. 65% is methane. The other is another inert gas such as carbon dioxide. Biogas is burnt inside a combustion engine, internal engine with cycle Otto, to produce in cogeneration, produce together electricity and thermal energy. Thermal energy is for the district heating for the final user, or is used to maintain the temperature inside the digester plant, because digester plant for biogas production works around 37-40 degrees. It's like the human temperature. Therefore, with the hot water recovered by the smoke of the combustion engine plant, recovered by the cooling system, recovered by the oil from the engine, it's possible to recover it, to recover thermal energy, both for the district heating and for the houses, and both for the heating of the plants. The result of the production of biogas is digestate matter. Digestate matter is the result, is inert material that can be used as biofertilizer. It's possible to use digestate matter instead chemical fertilizer. But it's not possible to use digestate matter without regulation. Digestato must be used according to the nitrogen content of the digestate matter itself and according to the quality of the land, of the ground, and of the water. In Bettona, there was a lot of spreading of digestato in the fields without a control. And ARPA, the Agency for Regional Protection, was together with the manager of the plant. So a lot of digestato was spread in the fields. And how they discovered the problem? They discovered because from the wells, water was yellow. People that take water from the wells for irrigation of the horticulture fields found yellow water full of nitrogen compounds. Digestato can be separated with a centrifugal machine into the solid fraction, about 10-15%, and the liquid fraction. Solid fraction is soluble, is palabile, and the liquid fraction can be used for irrigation of the fields. Here you can find the technologies for the irrigation of the fields through the ala piovana, the raining wing, or through the piping system. Here you can find some pictures about it. So it was very important in this lesson to understand that each region has a different definition of biomass. In the last part of this lesson and the next one, we look deeply four projects. The first one, biocell for biogas production from breedings. This project was carried out by Biomass Research Center 10 years ago. The problem on biogas plant to be developed in Umbria was we make an analysis of the market. We found that biogas plant have also in current have high investment cost. The second problem, the social acceptance. We said the last time that when we carry out biomass, when we are working with biomass, there is a difficult criticism on the social acceptance because of the odors, because of the aerosol produced by the biomass, because of the trucks in a biogas plant. There is a continuous trucks for feeding fresh biomass to the plant and taking the digestato from the plant to the fields. Other problems are related to the residual chains, seasonal type of olive husk, pruning, vineyard are in great quantity produced in a short time. There is the problem of the storage. We have seen in the last lesson how Distilleria di Lorenzo were storing the vineyard product along the road in the white bags. This is a problem to use for the plant because the biogas plant runs every day in the year. Seasonal biomass we have in 15 days, for example. We have to make a distribution of the biomass in the period. In Umbria, we have the problem of the reduced quantity of material and the distance among the farms to make a company connected with other companies. The goals of our biogas plant is the collection of the residual and seasonal biomass, the reduction of biomass transportation in the territory because we have a lot of trucks going to the plant with fresh biomass and going from the plant to the fields with digestato. It's a problem in order of safety of the roads, consumption of the road itself, consumption of the wake safety, noise emissions, pollution emission because trucks are fed by fossil fuels. There is a lot of problem. The reduction of the cost for renewable energy plant investments, safe utilization of slurry and residuals, byproducts produced by the breeding plants must be used in a correct way. Revenues from renewable energy production, from the renewable energy production, we have to take money for the development of the economy of the company. Biogas plant was also patented technology by Biomass Research Center. And the name of the patented technology is batch system for biogas production from anaerobic treatment of residual biomass. Here you can find a nice picture of the plant, and in this picture you can see the biogas plant, who are these big bags, the same we have seen in Marciano, where the first article, Corriere dell'Umbria, was dealing about the vineyard residual storage. We want to use the sealing of the bags filled in with biomass to make the fermentation of anaerobic biomass in order to produce biogas. The biogas is burned in a plant to produce electricity and thermal energy. You can see here a scheme. You see two biocells, two bags, plastic polyethylene bags filled with biomass. For example, one bag can be filled during the vineyard production biomass. For example, in September, October, when I have the residuals from a vineyard, I can put inside a bag. The bag make anaerobic condition, avoid the biomass to biodegradation of itself. For example, in November, I can fill another bag filled with residuals from the oil treatment industry. For example, in August, I can make another bag with horticulture production residuals. Or during the year, a lot of bags for the breeding of animals, slurry and manure from animals who are working every day of the year. So in blue you can see the slurry, the liquid biomass that is uploaded through a 2-inch pipe inside the digester, and in black you can see the biogas produced by inside the biocells inside the bags that can flow through a blower. It is pumped to the humidifier system to separate water from the biogas, and it is burned in an internal energy Otto cycle engine. The valves are open. There are two measures of pressure. When the pressure of the gas is high, the valve opens and the gas can flow through the engine. The water recovered from the engine through a heat exchanger is used to warm the slurry. So when we upload the liquid biomass, the slurry is about 40 degrees because it is warmed at the beginning of the plant in the startup through a heating element, resistenza, and during the working of the plant by the heat exchanger that recover the heat produced by the smokes and by the engine oil of the engine. In green, you can see the flow of the slurry after it passes through the biomass inside the bag that is downloaded to the well, to the storage tank, where it is heated again and pumped again to the biocell. Then the slurry is transformed into biogas, and it is separated as gaseous gas through the pipeline 4 inches to the engine. The system is all automatic because in the tank there are 2 level measures and the temperature control. So the heating element or the flow to the heat exchanger is defined depending on the temperature. And the temperature of the slurry depends on the temperature of the environment. For example, if we are in winter and the air temperature is 0 degrees, I have to pump the liquid at 45 degrees if I want that air is 38 degrees because of the thermal energy losses during the pipeline running. All is automatic and defined. Here you can see the machine with the hopper to upload the straw rich with manure from the cow and the wrapped bag. The tank filled with the liquid slurry, two pumps, one to recover the heat from the engine, and the other one to pump the liquid slurry to the biocells. Here you can see the loading slurry pipeline and the biogas uptake to the engine. This is the well with the sensor of level and temperature, the slurry loading, and in gray you can find the slurry from the bag, the drainage slurry from the bag from the biocell to the tank. And here you can see the pressure level system to open the valve when the bag is full of biogas. This is the startup phase. This startup phase, you can see the electric element for the thermal production, two pumps, the water recovered from the engine about 70-90 degrees, and the heat exchanger. This is another side of the plant from the roof of the house. And this is the biogas treatment and energy enhancement section, the blower of the gas, the humidifier. The gas is from the three biocells, the first one, the second, and the third biocell, 1, 2, 3. The biogas is addressed to one pipeline that passes through this area where it's wrapped with cold water produced by the fridge, the green fridge. Cold water aims at the water inside the biogas to condensate and to be separated by the cyclone here. The clean biogas can go on through the engine, the cogenerator engine. You can see the pipe from the humidifier to the cogenerator engine, the chimney, and the production of the energy. Here you can see it is working. It is 24.8 kilowatt. This is the temperature of the engine, of the running engine. This is the scheme of the automatic system to open the valves and regulate the temperature. This is the synoptic view of the computer to make automatic all the phases of the biogas production and the detection of biogas. Here you can see there is 19% of methane and oxygen. This is the first time where the anaerobic bacteria are starting their growth, and in the next stage, in the next phases, they make the consumption of all the oxygen inside the biocell and make the production of methane. And here there is the accumulated volume of methane produced by the biocells. What are the problems of the plant? The problem of the plant is experimental, very, very little plants. It cannot solve the problem of disposal of the breeding of big farmers. But this is experimental plant. The first problem that biocells are reducing in volume during the fermentation. So the pipeline connection can break down. The second problem is that in summer there is a high temperature of the bags and the bacteria were dying because of the high temperature, like a sterilization of the bacteria themselves. The first problem we have solved with some junction with the rotation, available rotation, to compensate the torsion movement along the pipelines due to the reduction of the volume of the bags during the anaerobic digestion. The second problem, we make a solution for summer with using white bags, white cover albedo effect, the white bag make the reflection of the solar radiation, and the biomass inside the bag is with a lower temperature. And here there is a nice view of the summer plant for biogas production by biocells. Now I want to show you a business plan of the plant. The first table, you can see the capex. The capex are the capital expenditure of for the realization of the plant. You can see the slurry tanks, pumping system, heat resistance, heat exchanger, the humidifier, blower, gasometer, hydraulic pipeline, and the heating, the engine, and the PLC is the system for automatization and electric net. All the cost for the capex, the investment cost, is 135 euros, 135,000 euros. The OPEX cost, the operating expenditure costs, are manpower. We estimated that we can use the same manpower of the company. I show you the regulation of the region Umbria. It's not possible to consider the manure as byproduct. Manure is waste for Umbria regulation. It's not possible to move all around the region Umbria. Therefore, it's possible to make the plant in the farmer area. Therefore, it's possible to use the same manpower used for breeding, for cow manure removal. It's possible to use to convert for a little part of the time, because the plant is generally automatic. It's possible to make to use a person to upload the biomass inside the bags, etc. for up to 2,500 euro per year. The cost for the energy for the startup, the polyethylene bags, 110 each bag, loading biomass cost. It is the first bag because then there is a consortium that recover the bag and give you another bag. Digestate, uptake, and the spreading without cost, because in the moment from the breeding area they recover the manure from the animals and spread the manure to the field. If they spread the digestate matter, it's the same operational in quantity to spread the raw material, for example, the manure from the animal. Revenue. About the revenue, we apply the decreto cleaning. We don't move the waste, the waste from animal is by product, because it's not moved from the area. It's used in the field of the owner without going out from the boundary of the area. And so the higher incentive is 236 euro for each megawatt hour of electricity produced. If we make the conversion to kilowatt hour, it is 0.236 euro for kilowatt hour. For 20 years of duration, the power is under 300 kilowatt. The power engine is 30 kilowatt. E means electric power. The regulation imposed to make a reduction of the power to deduct the auxiliary unit absorption. For example, the blower, the pumps, they make energy consumption. Therefore, the total energy production from the total power production, we have to deduct the power of the plant, of the auxiliary units that make running the plant. The incentivization is for the net power, and the regulation, Decreto Clini, is 11% the total absorption from the auxiliary machinery, for example, blowers, pumps, screw, cochleas, all the technology that make a consumption of energy is estimated in 11%. The most important that you have to calculate the net power without 11%. I take 30 kilowatt multiplied by 0.89 to calculate 89% without 11%. But the regulation is very interesting. It is another interesting part of the Decreto Clean because you can provide the best available technology and demonstrate to the GSA, the management of the energy system, that you make a consumption of less than 11%. 11% is an estimation established by the law. They take all the energy, they make a reduction of 11% of the total electricity produced. If you think that you can produce more because you are using excellent auxiliary with a low energy consumption, you can provide to the GSA a declaration with the calculation of the real absorption of your auxiliary, and if it is less than 11%, they can accept your document and make a reduction of 8-9%. Each plant has a reduction of the consumption. For example, for wind energy plants onshore, 1% you have to deduct because you have to make a reduction of 1% because there are the light of the remark of the presence of the plant. Onshore and offshore. Offshore is 2% because you have the lights, but you have also technologies, for example, to avoid the salt deposit in the wind turbine in the sea. There are also technology to avoid little electric resistance, to avoid the formation of ice during the night in the blades. And the ice during the night, when temperature goes down of 0, they can stop the blades running of the blades. Therefore, little resistance, electrical resistance, can hit oil to make the temperature of the turbine over 0. For solid biomass is 17%, because solid biomass we have to make the chipping of the trunk of the wood must be chipped to be reduced in little sized particles, and the chipping part is very expensive in terms of electric energy. So the net power, if the engine is 30 kilowatt, the net power is 26.7. The running of the plant is about 2,700 hours per year. Electrical energy is the multiplication of power and the time. Power 26.7 kilowatt, 2,700 hours per year. The result is 72,000 kilowatt hour electric per year. The incentivation is 0.236 euro for each kilowatt hour produced. I make the multiplication by 72,000 kilowatt hour by 0.236 euro per kilowatt hour, and I have the total year revenue. It is 17 euros for year. The cash flow is the difference between revenues and OPEX. We calculated the CAPEX, the investment cost, 135,000. It is euro. It is the expenditure you make one time. The operating cost is every year. So 4,500 euro per year in operating cost must be deducted by the 17,000 euro per year of the revenues. The cash flow is revenues minus OPEX. 17,000 minus 4,000 half. And the cash flow is 12,000 half euro per year. If we make a graph, a about the total cost starting by 135 euro, 1,000 euro. It is a line with a low inclination if compared with the line of revenues. They cross together in a point that is named break-even point or payback period. Payback period or break-even point. It is the moment between 11 and 12 years where you stop to have a loss and you start to have a guadagno, to have a net value from the plant. Because here the line of cost is higher than the line of revenues. Here the line of revenue after the payback period, the line of revenues is higher than the total cost. The difference between the revenues and the cost is commonly known as margine, guadagno. It's not so easy. For example, I want to show you the Excel plant. In the Excel plant, it's possible, for example, that OPEX can change. The OPEX from 4,500 euro. I hope you can see my Excel. It is 8,500 euro. Since, for example, the 8th day, it changed, for example, the cost. The 8th day here is changing from 4,500 per day to 8,500 per day, for example. So I change the cell. So you can see that there is in the cost a change of the inclination of the line. If I increase further, for example 9, there is the inclination of the line. Or for example, the plant, the engine of the plant break down. Therefore, for 1 year, the production is stopped. Sì? Yes?
Non vediamo l'Excel.
Ah, sorry. Now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I said, I go back to the presentation. If I make a change, here you can see 2 lines. The lines of the costs in red, the lines of revenue in green. If we have a changing of the OPEX, for example, from 4,000, it is 8,500, we will go to change the cell of the operating cost, and there is a changing until 20 years of the line is changing from the first 10 years. We have an OPEX of 4,500. After the 10th year, the OPEX change, so the inclination of the line is higher because we have more costs. If we have in the 13th year a stop of the engine because it breaks down, we have a stop of the production. For 1 year, the cumulative revenue is the same. We have here a step caused by the stop of the production. And the payback period is now 14 years. It means that the estimation I have shown you in the PowerPoint presentation is an estimation, a business plan, hoping that all the provisional costs are the same. During the story of the working plant, it's possible that OPEX can change, and it is also possible that the revenue can stop. The green line has a step because of a problem of the plant. So I go on the presentation. Okay, you can see the PowerPoint now. This is the loading the PowerPoint. Yes. Now you can see
Yes.
the business plan graph is possible to see now. Okay, so now we have finished with the part of biogas power plants, and we start now dealing with the another application, that is the application of project number 2, the energy recovery project for urban green maintenance residue in the municipality of Rome. Can you see the PowerPoint presentation, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this project aims at providing some areas for the municipality of Rome in order to make a collection of biomass. The maintenance biomass from the road, trees and public parks of the city is minimum 5,000 tons per year. Then there is the residual biomass production and agricultural residues. Here you can see the individuation of the areas for the pitch area where there is the collection of the biomass, storage, shipping, and energy conversion of the biomass. Here you can see the area with the biomass storage, wood chip storage, offices, and thermal plant for the energy valorization of the wood chip. Here you can see some picture of the area provided with the machinery. The first part of the chain is the biomass harvesting with transport and storage of biomass. Here you can see the process where the trunk is taken by the crane. The crane is pushing the trunk inside the chipper, and the chipper is producing biomass chip, who is filling the truck. You can see here another view of the crane, the trunk, the chipping machine, and the truck filled with the biomass chip. There is also a movie. The truck is the machine, and the chipping machine have the chip to be used in the thermal energy. The shipping and storage. Here you can see some elements for the biomass movimentation, because when biomass is stopping, it's possible to have the fermentation of the biomass and the production of mold. Therefore, there is one ASPO in Italian language, the reel, to make the movement of biomass in order to prevent the formation of mold. Energy conversion is the last part in order to produce electricity and thermal energy. We start again talking about the second project carried out by the Biomass Research Center, is the poultry manure as biofuel for sustainable energy production, the Renewable project. The Renewable project was funded by the MIPAF. MIPAF is the Ministry for Agriculture, Food and Forestry, And the title of the project is Supply Chain Design, Installation and Startup Monitoring of a Thermal Plant Fueled by Poultry Biomass. Poultry biomass in Italian language is pollina. The first step, identification of the farm being tested. We made a survey to understand what was the problematic of the area of Umbria region, and we have found that the companies that are breeding chicken have a lot of problems in order to dispose the biomass produced, the poultry manure produced by the chicken. So we have analyzed all the problems. We have found one company, a big, big company in San Venanzo, where make a study to design and install an innovative biomass plant. The second step was the analysis of the company energy consumption in order to cover all the energy requirements of the company through the biomass combustion. The third step, qualitative and quantitative analysis of available biomass. The first step, the biomass logistic design, the thermal plant design, installation and startup. And the last step was the monitoring of the energy and environmental performance of the thermal plant installed, fed by poultry manure. The company we have found is the Azienda Agricola di Ripalvella di San Venanzo, Terni, in the province of Terni. And it is a company where the main product of the company is fertilized egg. Eggs, uova fecondate, fertilized eggs, to make new breedings in other companies. So they have inside the chicks, little chicken, inside the breeding, and outside of the breeding there is the commercialization of fertilized eggs. Byproducts are the manure, the poultry manure from the animals, and the byproducts is also the meat, because after about 8-9 months, the chickens are slaughtered and the meat is sold. It is a byproduct because the main product is the eggs. The company energy consumption. The company is organized in 7 buildings. Each building has about from 5,000 to 10,000 animals inside each building, and they are divided for type of chicken, different chicken in different type of chicken in each breeding building. So some studies have shown that the quality of the egg and the probability of to have chicks from the fertilized eggs depend on the quality of the life of the animal, the well-being of the animal, benessere of the animal is the most important goal to be achieved in the breeding buildings, because the yield of the fertilized egg depends on the quality of the life. The animals have a lighting with 150 120 neon lamps, and in one day they simulate 2 days. In one day, the windows are closed and open 2 times for each day to simulate the sun rising and sunset 2 times per day, because we know that chicken make 1 egg when the sun rises, therefore simulating 2 rising of the sun in one day through the neon, through the artificial lighting plants allows to have 2 eggs for each day by 1 chicken. So there is a light consumption of the lighting system. The wellness of the animal is very important for the health of the egg. Therefore, in winter there is a heating with methane fan coil, and paddle fans in order to make hot air can move all around the breeding, and all the animals are heated for wellness, well-being inside the building. But the use of methane fan coil and paddle fans aims at the consumption of thermal and electric energy. For summer, there are also paddle fans provided with humidifier to make fresh air for the animals. With the violet and the blue point, you can see the washing eggs building and the machinery for the storage of eggs and machinery. The total thermal needs for heating, for washing the eggs is 114,000 kilowatt-hour thermal, it means thermal, per year. This is the second step, the analysis of the company energy consumption. Qualitative and quantitative analysis of available biomass. The breedings can host about 36,000 animals, and the slaughter is 1 times per year. The life of each animal is around 8-9 months, because after 8 months, one chicken that makes 2 eggs per day is finished. The life of the animal, the yield in terms of eggs is finished. So they kill all the animals together, they slaughter all the animals together, they open the building, slaughter all the animals to produce meat. It's very good quality meat, and they clean just 1 time per year the poultry manure inside the building. The poultry manure is 15 centimeters thickness of poultry manure in the pavement of the building. It is 1,200 tons per year of total poultry manure. We make a sampling of the poultry manure and we make the analysis at the Biomass Research Center laboratory in order to define the humidity content through the analyzer ECHO, the volatile substances also through the analyzer ECHO, because the volatile substances is the organic content of the biomass. And through the machinery CHN is possible to define the content of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur and chlorine content. Then with the bomba di Mahler calorimeter, the 5th instrument, it's possible to define the lower eating value, potere calorifico inferiore. This is the results. These are the results of the analysis. We have the humidity is very in the Ripalbella di San Venanzo, compared also with San Valentino della Collina, another property of the same owner. But it's very different, the quality of the breeding, because the humidity is very, very low, 12% of humidity of water in the poultry manure of Ripalbella di San Venanzo. Because of the heating system in winter, the heating conditioning system that have in the breeding aims at drying the biomass. The substance, the solid substance volatile is 65%, ashes 15%, it's very high ashes. In wood chip we have 5-7% of ashes, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen content. The lower eating value, potere calorifico, is 12 megajoule per kilo of material. If we make a comparison of 12 with 15 for fireplace wood, 10 the wood chip part, and 18 the pellet is very compressed, therefore the energy density is higher. It is very, very high value of heating. It's between the wood chip and between the fireplace wood. Therefore, it's possible to use the pollina, the pollinator, as biofuel in order to produce thermal energy to replace fossil fuel. They make the consumption of methane to the boilers to produce thermal air. It's possible to replace methane burning the pollinator produced by the breeding itself. It's possible to use the fertilizer in the fields. The nitrogen content is 1.85. The regulation about the nitrogen use is the Directive Nitrates number 676 of 91 of the European Community. And this regulation was applied through the Italian regulation by several regulations within the Testo Unico Ambientale, the Consolidated Environmental Text number 152 of 2006. What are the decisions of the Italian regulation? The first one is the analysis of the areas in order to define the ZVN, Zona Vulnerabile Nitrati, area vulnerable because of the presence of water, the presence of wells, presence of phreatic water. Therefore, it's possible in these areas to spread at least 170 kilos of nitrogen per year per hectare. In the other area, it's not possible to exceed the double quantity, 340 kilos of nitrogen per year per hectare of area. Together with the analysis of the area, if there is the risk of pollution of the soil, of the water, there is also the processing of a PUA, Piano di Utilizzo Agronomico. The PUA is how the biomass is used. The Regolamento number 4, the same we have seen, like the Article 9, define where I can use the poultry manure or digestate matter, all the substance with nitrogen content. The maximum area is 30 kilometers with 12 kilos of carbon dioxide per kilometer per year to be produced. So if we have 1,200 tons per year of poultry manure, the average fraction of nitrogen is 1.85%. We have every year 22 tons of nitrogen. The available area in all around the field is 1.55 hectares. It's not possible to use the poultry manure in the fields because we need 129 hectares of area. Therefore, we have to find a logistic for biomass in order to define how poultry manure can be used for energy production.